All right, it's Christmas Eve, December 24th, 2011. Anyway, you know, I had just a few comments. Before you go make any comments about me, find out about me. Don't sit there and put me down because, you know, I purposely misspell words, okay, to see if anybody's awake out there. I just sent a message off to somebody. Another person thought that I was somebody else and called me an American. I haven't been an American since 1996 when I symbolically, underline that, symbolically overthrow the United States of America on cable access TV. Now, if you type in HRMCAE, you'll get my full name. It's the only one in the box that'll appear. HRMCAE, and my whole name will show up. HRMCAESAR, Cesar St. Augustine de Buonaparte. You do that and go back and check all the crap that this city and this country has done to me. It's no wonder that I do all this stuff. First of all, nobody looks at I don't have 10 million views on any of my 100 videos. Forget it. It's just not happening. I even use some of the titles saying naked girls, this and that, and I get more views that way. But it's only a handful. Less than, I don't even make it into the teens. All right? So this isn't about, you know, somebody ranting and raving. These are about real civil rights violations. And we're talking ongoing for years. We're not talking about, you know, that happened once or twice and maybe you tried to sue the city government or county or even the federal government. This isn't about that. This is about destroying a person's life, taking them off their chosen course, their freedom of choice course, and putting them on a path that isn't their own. Impounding vehicles right and left. But the illegals here, they can drive, and Vigorosa's on their side. He says, oh, no, I'm going to back off on towing people who are illegally driving. They don't have a driver's license. In the things that got impounded from me and the pains and agonies I went through, I wasn't even driving them. They took them off my private property using some 10-day abatement law. I mean, they have so many rules. They can take and do things even without search warrants. They can do that. And plus, neighbors can make false reports on you. Here this guy shuts down all the schools in January this year. Shuts down 9,000 kids can't go home because he shoots himself and claims that some guy did it. And then the news media prints a composite of the guy. I think I did a tape on that one. You know, I'm not the crazy person here. Believe me. You are. You're the one that lets all this crap happen. And so long as you've got your SUV and your car and you've been bought and paid for. You are a stooge. You are a slave. You are bought and paid for. And you always will be. This isn't about me. This is about you. This is about your country, state, federal, and local, violating people's rights continually. And of course, it's all poor people whose rights are being violated. And the poor people don't have $300 an hour to go find some civil rights attorney. And by the way, good luck finding a civil rights attorney, especially in California. They won't come forward unless you give them a retainer of $5,000 to start. No. What's wrong with your country is that you've got idiots running it. Idiots running it in politics, idiots running in your neighborhoods, who one person making one phone call can destroy a person's life, knock them off their chosen path, and put them on some other path that they never wanted, force them to go into storage units where they can't work there. You've got so many blocks, so many conditions, so many regulations that you are strangling people from doing what they used to do in the 1900s. All these regulations weren't around in the 1900s. If I had a time machine, I'd go back to the 1900s with all my junk. I'd probably be a multimillionaire from all the stuff I'd bring from the future back to the past. With people going, wow, look at this stuff. You know, in the future, this is junk. Well, that's really news. I'm sure that's what they'd all say, because every one of them would go, wow, I'd give anything to have that thing. Wow, I have a movie studio, a VCR, in my own home. Wow, that's amazing. Is this what's going to happen in the future? I'm sure glad you brought it back here to the 1900s. Anyway, we all know that all these things I talk about, some of them are impossible. Even if it were to change tomorrow, it would not be enough for me, because the damage is already done. My life is almost over with. You know, it's gone. Your society, your evil, screwed up society, your contradictory society, took 30 years of, it's 25 years my life and 35 years for my older twin. You know, this is just beyond imagination. Beyond. My older twin was questioned by the police just the other night. He was emptying a storage in Chatsworth. The police had his hands handcuffed. I watched it. I watched it from from a dark corner. And they asked him all these questions. They had him handcuffed, and because he didn't have his ID on him, they had to check and make sure he was giving him the right ID. Has he ever been to jail? Did he have any warrants? And it goes on and on. An older cop, I don't know who he was, had white hair, short white hair. I think he had private stripes on. He walks over to Caesar. He says, "Where's the lock for the door?" This is after 10 minutes of them questioning and making a big hoop-de-doo. And there's like 3 squad cars there. And he says, "Yeah, the lock's right inside the door there on that," I think he said it was on some kind of a screen thing or something, some kind of shelf, little wire shelf. So the cop goes over there. I think he's a corporal. He had 2 stripes. And I could hear the whole conversation. And he says, do you have the keys? I go, "Well, yeah." They reach in my pocket, pull out the keys. "Which key is it?" I go, "That one." And he says to them, "That one." And so the cop takes the keys out and puts it in the lock. The lock turns, of course, And he goes, "Well, the key works." And all the cops look at each other like really stupid, because here's this guy, older cop obviously, and he had enough sense to think of the most logical thing that any CSI investigator, crime scene, would come up with, which is the easiest path to follow. If he's got the key to the lock, why the hell you got him handcuffed and got him answering all these questions? And so the other cop who was asking the questions goes, "Well, let's check him on the computer anyway and make sure he doesn't have any warrants." And I had to bite my tongue to keep from laughing at a distance, hoping they wouldn't discover me, because then they do the same thing to me. And I've never been in trouble with the police. Never had my fingerprints taken. I'm like off the grid completely. All right. So then the guy tries to, I guess, make himself look to the other cops like he's not really that stupid. And the other cop just left. He got in his car and drove off. I guess he's the smart one. He didn't want to deal with it. He'd shown him what the most logical thing to do is. So anyway, and then poor Caesar, he didn't have I tried to help him find somebody with a truck or whatever. Finally, the storage place asked him, "You need to put the stuff back in. I know they're going to overlock." He wanted to move out. He says, "Or we can take you where you're going with our truck." And he chose to do that. Once they did that, then I got out there and helped them load the truck. And another worker from some temp agency helped. And everybody was helping. And the truck was loaded. Then they drove it to the new storage place, and there he was. And then I thought, I told him, "I'm going to go to the computer place and do another tape." He says, "Okay," while he works on the stuff down over there. So anyway, here we are 9 minutes into the tape. I tell you a little story. But you know what really gripes him and me is he doesn't want anything to do with any of you. He's just fed up, completely. And after last night, he's just more and more fed up. I anticipate one day he's just going to walk away from everything, not take anything, and get on some merchant ship and just disappear. I see that in his eyes already. As for me, I'd like to take my possessions with me. He wants to take his possessions with me, with him. I want to take my trucks, cars, and boats, or whatever I have left. He wants to take whatever he has left with him. We can't leave. We don't have enough money, even if we both want to leave at the same time. And no one on the YouTube will talk to some rich person and say, here's one or two people that oh, I heard something else the cop said. He said, Caesar said to them, so you don't like being in America? He says, no, I hate this place. All it does, it forced me into these storages. And he goes on, you know, ranting and raving. And then he says, well, why don't you leave? Because he says he wants to take his stuff with him. I do too. And he said something that made a lot of sense. And the officer said, you know, that's the very intelligent thing, first intelligent thing you've really said. Caesar said, wouldn't you rather have loyal Americans here? Isn't that what you really want? Brainwashed, loyal Americans here? You don't want people like him. You don't want people like me, because we're not normal. And when I say normal, I mean the people in the country are the ones with the problem. Him and me, we're beyond normal. We really are what should be the standard for how people act and work out there. Most of you out there are greedy, selfish, self-centered, and you don't give a damn about somebody else. Sometimes you do. Oh yeah, you'll give a little money to charity, you'll drop a coin in this at the supermarket, but that ain't going to change anything. You still got the same system that is outright evil. When are you going to change it? When are you going to revolt? Me putting my name in there, Caesar St. Augustine de Bonaparte, a lot of newspapers are saying, the only thing they're saying is a thing on television. The only thing they're saying is something on the newspapers, and it's a standard everywhere on all these newspapers all over the country talking about the unknown presidential, the 284 unknown presidential candidates, that the only thing that they say about me is that I decorated my presidential application with pictures that go all the way back to the Trojan War. I'm going, what kind of impression is a person going to think? First of all, looking at my name, and then hearing that, instead of saying, go on YouTube, see this guy. He rants and raves a lot, but he makes a lot of sense. And it's probably rants and raves because he's acting. He's trying to get people shocked so that they'll come and listen to his YouTube, and maybe they'll support him to overthrow this country, because that's what I want to do. I want to now physically, I symbolically overthrew the country, change the name of the United States of America to the United States of Pangaea, the United States of Turtle Island on the continent of North Pangaea. Instead of North America, it's North Pangaea. And there really was a name, a North Pangaea of America, before it was America. You go back and study the in-depth geological record, you'll see that that name existed at one time. And the reason I chose to name it that is because I don't think that German map maker had a right to name it after some Italian explorer without asking the native peoples, which he couldn't at the time, would you like to take a vote on giving a name to this continent? The native peoples were just pushovers. They allowed it. Just like they allowed the white man to take all their property. White man comes here, takes over the property, wipes out the DNA, the natural evolving DNA of the Indian or native peoples, and then starts wars in other countries, or other countries start wars, and then the white man from here goes back to Europe to fight the wars. You tell me whether you people deserve any kind of respect. You don't. You're idiots. You're contradictory. You're beyond contradictory. And the reason I pour my heart out on YouTube is I'm hoping that maybe some radical revolution will take place, and maybe people will really listen, but after 100 videos, I don't think they're going to. And the media is certainly not going to publish me. They're not going to interview me on television because I'm too, it's not that I'm too radical, I'm too innovative. That's why. I'm beyond innovative, and they're scared of that. The working powers, the authorities of this government, state, federal, and local, are scared of anyone that is super innovative and super resourceful, can actually do it. That's what they're scared of. So it's 14 minutes and 50 seconds into the tape, and I'll be taping another one as part 2 in a minute because I got a free day today of tapes.